First, you must realize that you have no idea before you can know the idea. We scan across all the frequencies if we want to learn anything new. Let us begin.
What has physics done for me lately? Second more, the equation E is equal mc squared. We have now acquired a fateful power to alter and to destroy nature. That's like when you're in physics and you go to a dream world saying, this is a physics excursion. Science, what is it all about? The whole of human history all falls in the dust of one stroke of a nail file. You can't really get to grips with evolution unless you realise what an enormous amount of time our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold. You're tuned into what can only be described as the best radio station on this blue dot we call Earth. It is, of course, 4ZZZ, your community broadcaster. Be it on your conventional wireless radio by tuning into the classic frequency of 102.1 FM, digital devices such as DAB or smart speaker, listening via the Community Radio Plus app, or streaming us live from our sensational website at 4ZZZ.org. And of course, you can always listen back to us or any 4ZZZ show for that matter using the ingenious on-demand feature also found at that URL. We also now have a weekly podcast of the show for your listening pleasure, curated by Toby, a condensed version of the show without the music, which my mum prefers. Just search for our show name, which is of course No Idea spelt with a K, your weekly dose of science. And joining me for this episode to speak about all things science are two of my favourite science influencers, Peta and Gabe.
Good morning.
Morning, Max. Max, there's been huge news in the last week in the science world. Something happened on Mars, but more importantly, researchers in Queensland watched 150 episodes of Bluey, all of them, and published important science on what they found. So we're going to be getting into that.
That's cool.
I'm sure we'll find some time to squeeze in that there may be life on Mars a little later on in the show.
Right on.
What do you got, Peter?
I have something that has gone missing from the Gulf of Panama. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then what I think is actually one of the biggest scientific discoveries we've ever talked about on this show, maybe except Life on Mars. Unfortunately, they both came in the same show, so that's not on me, that's on Gabe. But we've got two major things this show, with three, including Bluey. Wow.
Cool.
Huge.
I'm going to
What do you
talk
got, Max?
about micro-mobility and which is safer, an e-bike or a scooter. What do you reckon?
Bike is my guess. I'm going bike, all in on bike.
Flowhive changed beekeeping. Why is it so popular?
I think it's actually a number of things. Firstly, you've got my father and I's invention, which allows you to turn a key and honey flows right out into your jar. And that was a completely new way to harvest honey. And you've also got the pollination aspect. We need more beekeepers looking after bees in order to get all of our gardens pollinated.
So where can I get a Flowhive?
Head to our website, honeyflow.com.au, and there you'll find everything you need to get started in beekeeping.
Proud sponsor of 4ZZZ.
Well, I mean, that's like one of the best ads we've ever had on the show.
Yeah, I want to
What?
beekeep.
Beekeeping? Come on.
I want bees.
Yeah.
I want honey.
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max, running the show, people. Gabe, Peter.
Oh.
Ruining the show, people.
Hit us up, Peter.
What does every animal need?
Okay, let's do it, Max.
No,
What does every animal need?
fermented fruit.
No.
He started strong there, going to a very niche reference to a story about chimpanzees eating boozy fruit.
Yeah, maybe we need to be clear on what an animal
Famously
is.
only been seen in one animal other than humans.
How would a fish, which is an animal, eat
Cheap
fermented
date.
fruit?
Yeah.
Okay, what does every animal need? Okay, food, shelter, water.
Are we doing the triangle, the pyramid?
I'm assuming. Let's start there.
Self-awareness.
Max, you're meant to be running the show. And then I guess if that's just for the individual animal, if we're talking about a population or a species,
No,
then it
you've
also
actually
needs
missed one for the individual animal.
food, shelter, water,
Think about it. What do you do?
sleep.
Sleep!
Oh, no.
Look, I don't want to sound dramatic, but this might be one of the most significant scientific discoveries we've ever covered on this show.
Yeah.
we might finally know why we sleep.
Oh.
This has been a mystery for the longest time. People have been looking into this forever, and it's got everything to do with one little organelle. Everybody, put your hands together for the one, the only, the mitochondria powerhouse of the cell.
Cool.
This is very exciting. So, this comes to us from the University of Oxford. QS ranking, please.
Oh, what is Oxford? A 5?
It's 4.
Yeah.
It's 4. So, people from Oxford wanted to know why we sleep. Much like many researchers wanted to know why we sleep. So, lots of people have been looking into this. There has been literal decades of research. There's been some other stuff coming up. Like they knew that something was changing with mitochondria. They could see literal cellular changes when people were sleep deprived, but they weren't really sure why.
Yeah.
Like, are these changes in metabolites, is what they're called, cellular behavior, neuronal firing patterns, and all the rest of it, are they signals that tell you to sleep, or are they things that are brought on by the need for sleep? It's sort of like a circular question of, is it the chicken or the egg? Like, what's happening first? Why does it happen?
The egg is the answer to that question.
Yes, because of reptiles. No, we've got that. Thank you.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Okay. So then
we
we've solved chicken and egg, now on to sleep. So we knew that there were links between sleep and brain health and the cellular level, but they couldn't figure out what the cellular trigger of sleep was until now. And they used a classic bio creature to figure it out. Gabe, what animals do we use in the lab?
Rats, zebrafish,
What's the
insects.
first one you used?
mice. What?
No, you didn't.
Cane toads?
No. Well, yeah, we did use cane toads, but what else did you use?
In the lab?
You used to have a jar of them.
A jar of them, silkworms.
Nah, Drosophila, fruit flies.
Oh, fruit flies, of course.
Yeah, Drosophila, every bio student has been handed a jar of these at some point in their study.
Drosophila.
Goodness, Drosophila, fine. So they are a model organism, meaning that we use them for a lot of things. They're kind of good to look at because they've got genetic and neuronal similarities to humans. Funnily enough, we're quite similar to fruit flies. Woo! So this study was looking at a small group of sleep-inducing brain cells called dorsal fan-shaped body neurons. Essentially, they're just a very, very specific type of cell that we knew was connected to sleep.
For the record, we're similar to Drosophila in the way that we're not similar to like an amoeba. We're not that similar to just to a fruit fly.
We're similar enough that we can use them for research. That's the point. So they were comparing well-rested versus sleep-deprived flies, which is funny because I would love to see what a sleep-deprived fly looks like. Like, what?
How do they keep them
behave?
up?
Yeah, how do they keep them up? How do you wake up a fruit fly? What are you doing? So then they wanted to look at differences in their gene activity, like expression profiles, and electrical signaling in neurons. And then they measured the activity of the mitochondria within these very specific sleep neurons. And this is what's happening. And so I'm going to get deep into the actual mechanism here because it is so new and crazy. And it's fantastic that we have this much detail. During waking hours, when a fly is active and eating, its cells have a very high supply of energy molecules. However, these very specific sleep-inducing neurons are actually inhibited and less active during waking. And this creates a mismatch. So the mitochondria inside the neurons are flooded with fuel, which is electrons, but the demand for energy is low, so the cells aren't firing much. Essentially, they're filling up with electrons, but they're not losing them. They're not firing. And so then it's sort of like overfilling your petrol tank. Once the assembly line, which uses electrons to produce ATP, gets backed up, the backup increases the chances that electrons leak out of the cell prematurely. When these electrons leak out of the cell, they react with oxygen, which creates a damaging molecule called reactive oxygen species, or ROS. You may have also heard them called free radicals. It's just sometimes oxygen gets a bit wild and it hurts your cells. So your body doesn't like reactive oxygen species. So then the ROS molecules damage parts of the cell, like the fats and lipids in membranes. And essentially, these special sleep neurons have a way of sensing the damage to this cell. So they can sense the ROS free electrons, the electrons seeping out and hurting the cell. And then they have this like very specific way of doing that. They essentially count the byproducts of the lipid damage, which in turn makes the neuron more likely to fire and induce sleep. So the growing damage is what creates the physical sensation of, they call it sleep pressure. I'm going to call it eepiness. You eepy when your cell, this specific cell gets a bit rough. And they could like see visible changes in the mitochondria. So after the prolonged waking, the sleep deprivation, the mitochondria in these DFBNs, or the sleep neurons, physically changed. They became smaller, more numerous, fragmented in a process called mitochondrial fission. We love fission. And this is a sign of organelle damage. So the cell also ramps up processes to clear out the damaged mitochondria and to create new ones at contact points. And then essentially, here's the key thing. During recovery sleep, the opposite happens. The mitochondria fuse back together in a process called mitochondrial fusion, and their shape and volume rebound to healthier baseline levels. So essentially, you need sleep to repair your mitochondrial network. And to make sure they were 100% right about this mechanism, that's the end of the mechanism, by the way, they genetically engineered flies. So they engineered flies to increase electron leakage during energy production and then reduce electron leakage. So more radical oxygen, less radical oxygen.
Okay.
And then essentially they would induce this fragmentation. And when they had more leakage, the flies would sleep more. So if they engineered the flies to leak more electrons, they would sleep more and more frequently. And when they engineered the flies to essentially force the mitochondria to fuse and not actually leak these electrons, they didn't sleep much. They were fine. They kind of just kept going and they didn't need that restorative sleep. They also did a bunch of other teeny little things, but essentially they are right. This is why we get sleepy. This is the cellular reason for sleep, is that these tiny little organelles are leaking electrons.
In a fruit fly, at least.
In a fruit fly, at least, that is true. But they are very confident that this is for all animals because we share the same sort of the same basic units of sleep. Isn't that this has not gotten anywhere near big enough in the news, in my opinion. Knowing why we sleep has been such a lifelong mystery. I will say they didn't really explain how sleep puts those mitochondria back together. They said that it did, but they didn't exactly say how. So I'm interested in that. Why does sleep, turning off your brain, help?
It also sounds like it's one part of how this is working, because if it was as simple as making a small tweak to the genes and suddenly you didn't have this issue and you didn't need to sleep anymore, which is what they seem to have induced in part of these flies, then why wouldn't every organism have evolved to do that and be awake for longer?
That's because what happens is that it is a fundamental biological explanation for why sleep is non-negotiable, right? These organelles, these neurons are essentially flipped. So they're flipping the damage that happens in the rest of your cells to make you sleep. Should they not be there, should we all be genetically engineered to not have this electron leakage in those cells, what this is saying is that the rest of your mitochondria would become extremely damaged over time. So it's essentially resetting your body so that all your mitochondria can get... That's the idea behind this. So they do think, though, that this will help people who have insomnia and sleep problems. They think this could actually be a really good step in that direction because then they can focus on mitochondrial remedies, which already kind of exist, but they were like, no, we can really focus on this pathway now.
Sounds good. Okay.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Well done. And we've got part 2 of this. Hit us up, Gabe.
Max, do you know what makes me happy? There is now an official figure in a proper peer-reviewed scientific paper, which is straight up just a screenshot from a Bluey episode.
Yeah, Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Figure 1, a scene from the episode Copycat where Bandit comforts Bluey and fosters resiliency, and it's just a screenshot. I love this.
Yeah.
So, this is Queensland research coming to us from CQ University, or Central Queensland University. We've got a QS ranking.
I think they're a range, aren't they? They're like 700.
326.
700, 800.
499.
I was close to Max. Ha!
Yeah.
So what they've done is looked into Bluey, which of course is
iconic,
and now one of the most popular shows in the world. There was some US
the world's parenting
stats.
source.
Yeah, there was some
most streamed show in 2024 or something.
US stats just came out from Nielsen, a global research group, which found that it was the most streamed, like you said, Max, in the US across the first half of the year. 25 billion watch minutes. So not just like most people have watched this or the most episodes watched. It minutes to minute, if you tally it all up, Disney Plus says 25 billion minutes of watch time.
I have a question for Max.
It's a bit like your Instagram feed, isn't it, Gabe?
Yes, Max.
Yeah, definitely very popular. Max, as the only parent here, do you think you would have done a better job if Bluey had been available?
Possibly, yeah. We had the Wiggles. That was our go-to.
Oh, it's pretty good. Wiggles pretty good.
Yeah.
Still kicking, still doing great.
Yeah.
This is aside the point, but you know what came second for most streamed rerun in the US in the first half of the year?
Please don't say Friends.
No. Grey's Anatomy.
That makes sense. All my friends watch Grey's.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Did you know that's the name of an actual book?
Yeah.
I didn't know this until my friend went to medical school and I found the books.
I was doing
like,
some
what?
work in the house and I saw the textbook up there, Grey's Anatomy.
It's like the medical
It is the
Bible.
medical textbook.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a really good name for the show, actually. They're really cooked with that.
Yeah, it would be like calling like some biology show on the origin of species or something. Okay, so Bluey, obviously a huge, massive program, and anyone who's watched it, used it as a parenting tool will tell you that it's not just a distraction technique, it's also a learning opportunity and incredible for teaching kids about a lot of stuff. And what they're focusing on in this research is resiliency and how it can teach kids about that. So this study involved, get this is real research. They watched 150 episodes, so 18 hours of Bluey.
Lucky bastards. Imagine being paid to do that.
So that's every episode.
Yeah.
They looked at the storyline, characters and themes, and identified moments where a character faced a challenge and showed a resilient response. They did this by watching it on iView, so that's like a piece
Wait,
in the
Americans?
methods.
Oh, wait, no, they're Australian.
These are Queenslanders. So they had to put that in the method section, access via iView.
Nice.
And then they use something called the Grotberg Resilience Framework. And this is the bit where we sneak some science into the story because it's a widely recognized psychological model that breaks resiliency down into three parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, I can, and I am. So I
remember this.
I have things like family, friends, and role models in my community that you can that I can rely on, and also, I have things in my life that are from those people. I can, which is involving practical coping skills, problem solving, emotional management, asking for help, and I am, which involves inner strengths, confidence, optimism, emotional regulation, and a sense of self-worth.
Yeah, we got taught this in psych. I remember this.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
What they found is across those 150 episodes that they looked at, I think there's like 4 mini episodes that they didn't include.
Oh, okay.
Technically, there's 154 episodes of Bluey. They looked at 150. I think they maybe just didn't do the minis.
Maybe they didn't do the cricket one.
Something like that. So the research found that nearly half, 73 of the 150 episodes included a clear resilience message as either the primary or secondary theme within the show, within the episode. Nearly 2/3 of those moments were facilitated by a parent, and most of those were facilitated by Bluey's mum, most of the remaining by Bluey's dad. So that fits into what they call the I have category, right?
I have
So
fantastic parents.
I have
the best parents.
yeah, I have parents who give me the tools, the behaviors that I can mirror to get to be more resilient. And so, yeah, for one example of that I have, they say in the show, which is season 2, episode 19, it's called The Show, Bingo accidentally drops a breakfast tray and bursts into tears.
Oh, I remember this.
And Bingo's mum gently models emotional
Chili.
coaching. Yeah.
Please.
By saying, I have a little cry, I pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep going. Later in the episode, Bingo then repeats those exact words when things go wrong again. So that is the I have. Like, I have a mother who I can model the behavior from, right? So that's that bit of resiliency. Then there's I can. So there's a season 1, episode 3. It's called Keepy Uppy.
Oh, great episode.
The final balloon in the game pops. The kid pauses, take it in, smile, and say, well, that was fun. In that single moment, you see disappointment, emotional regulation, and reframing, which is the core of the I can category. And then the final one, I am, is in season 2, episode 27, as an example, called Seesaw.
Oh my
Pom-Pom
God.
shows self-determination and self-confidence to get to the top of the seesaw and save her friends, which is an example of I am, because I am a small and hardy breed, but I can still get this stuff done.
Yeah,
you know?
that one's a wild episode. I do love the odd dogs that they put in there. They've got a sausage dog who in one episode can't climb something. The Pomeranian's just incredibly short, relatable to me. There's just some fun characters, and you can see all these kids. It's not just Bingo and Bluey too. All the kids will help each other, and they have these great coping mechanisms as they're talking about.
And they say it's important to think about this sort of stuff, particularly the ability of psychological tools coming from TV and good examples of TV like Bluey, because children today are facing really high levels of anxiety and emotional dysregulation. So they say the researchers quote this 2023 resilience survey and found that of 140,000 students, 1 in 4 primary and 1 in 3 secondary students reported high levels of psychological distress. And they talk about how, resiliency isn't just about toughing it out. It's about adapting to setbacks, recovering, and how it's a vital part of healthy child development to have all those different parts that I have, I can, I am, parts of resiliency, not just, bottle it up and tough it out types of thing. That's not what they're talking about. And so they say there's a big role here in modern life for storytelling, which is often through TV, and particularly animal characters through story to feature in that storytelling, which is something that children are drawn towards anyway, and that I guess takes some of the directness out of it a bit by having it be an animal character that really works and can resonate quite well. And conversely, they also point to research that shows a lack of resilience in childhood is associated with an increased risk of things like depression, anxiety, and poor coping skills. So resiliency is a big part of sort of preventing and coping with those sorts of things that we're seeing increasing at the moment in a lot of kids, the anxiety, the depression, emotional dysregulation. And they're saying that shows like this, like Bluey, are a really good example of how TV can fit in as a tool, a teaching tool within, a kid's life to help them with that sort of stuff. So
we're
say...
We're talking about screen time now, aren't we, as well? So that sort of comes
to an extent.
Yeah.
I think this is the thing is when people say everything in moderation, it's never evil by definition. And this is one of those things where I think at least I've heard a lot of my friends who do psychology talk about pediatric psychology, talk about how Bluey is a good tool and that they recommend it.
Everything in moderation except for moderation itself.
Yes.
And the researchers who wrote a good article in the conversation about this, they do have a recommendation about that screen time thing, Max, because they do say it's not just about putting them in front of the show, and it's not about feeling guilty about putting them in front of the show for a bit. But what they do recommend is joining in. So when parents watch too, those moments become conversation starters. This is a direct quote from their article. For example, what do you think Bluey felt? Have you ever felt like that? Or what would you do in this situation? Talking through what's happening on screen can then help that reflection and process build the skills they need and get that resiliency from it. So they say, it's not just screen time. It's it is an active experience.
It's not just shoving an iPad in front of your child.
But there you go. Confirming what I'm sure pretty much everyone knew, which is that Bluey's different. Bluey's built different as a show and is an incredible learning tool.
Also, can we talk about how Aussies have just been doing kids' TV so well for decades? Yeah. We had High Five. We had The Wiggles. We had Bluey. Name me an English or American show that changed lives the way these did. We just do kids' shows better. Also around the twist, but that one is maybe psychological trauma rather than beneficial.
Yeah, the next one I want these researchers to do is Round the Twist. Study that. And then maybe that can explain a lot of things that are wrong in the slightly older generations. Yeah. Sonar stands for what, Izzy?
Sonar
stands... What does Sonar stand for again? Sonar. From a few minutes ago?
I know what the last word is.
Sonic? Sound.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then there's an N word, and then and ranging. And ranging. Near ranging. I don't know. Is that it?
I tuned out.
Sound, navigation, and ranging.
I got the first half.
Fair enough. You did?
1 out of 5.
I can't believe I said the N word. What's going on?
Yeah, that was a wild choice. And we all just brushed over it.
You tune into 4ZZZ. The show is No Idea, your weekly dose of science. With me, Max. We've got Peta, we've got Gabe, and we've got Aiden in the room for a bit of work experience. And we're going to do part 3 of this. So this is e-bikes versus e-scooters. What are your thoughts, Aiden, on that?
I've never ridden one, but they look scary.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. Solemn agreed.
Yeah.
Just repost that thought.
So e-scooters have often been thought of as being more dangerous than e-bikes.
But I would assume so.
A recent study from Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden, QS ranking.
Chalmers University
in
Sweden.
I'm going to say 94.
I think it's either 200 or 1200.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 200.
Yeah, you're close. It's 165. And they want to...
I was closer. Ha 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 ha.
Using what they call incidence rate ratios analysis, they have shown that e-scooterists experience lower crash risks than e-cyclists.
What?
And you can find their paper in the journal.
Is that because they're always on the footpath? They cause more incidents than... What's on the bloody footpath?
The studies primarily based on GPS data analysis from trips using e-bikes and e-scooters in 7 cities.
Oh, so when they just suddenly stop.
around the world. So they went to the Swedish city of Gävle, spelled really weird.
Thanks, Max. It's really good to know your thoughts on the spelling of cities in their native language. Fantastic.
The German
Max, every colonizer ever. Man, that's spelled weird.
That's the German cities of Berlin and Dusseldorf.
And how are they spelled? Fine? Acceptable?
One's got an umlaut. And then the UK cities of Cambridge, Kettering, Liverpool and Northampton.
Of course, totally fine.
Crash rates were computed by dividing the number of crashes by the number of trips, the duration of the trips, and the distance of the trips.
Okay.
Each crash rate provides a different perspective. The researchers analysed, and this is where it gets a bit weird, 686 crashes involving e-scooterists and only 35 involving e-cyclists. So it's a bit of a difference, isn't it? And this was attributed to the use of e-scooters are way more popular than using an e-bike. So,
it doesn't matter total numbers. It's about the rate.
It's the rate,
of accidents.
We're scientists here. We care about proper statistics. Don't give us this total volume.
And they reckon it's the first time a study of this kind has been able to compare micromobility in such detailed and equitable way, and from so many countries and cities. The GPS data was key to being able to do the study in this way, making it possible to measure what is termed exposure. So exposure is when you use the actual device, which refers to how much a vehicle is actually used. With greater precision than previously, it should be noted all vehicles in the study were rentals and used in city centres.
Yeah.
So not like in Holland where everyone's got an e-bike now.
Exactly, yeah. So this made it more equitable again, because you're not mixing urban with rural settings, you're not mixing rentals with privately owned vehicles. So they reckon that if you use, I'm just skipping ahead a bit, the difference in crash risk between these vehicle types was greatest when trip distance was used as a measure for exposure, where the crash risk was 8.3 times higher for e-bikes than e-scooters.
So, sorry, you were saying that's controlling for trip distance?
Trip distance, yeah. So the longer the distance...
Oh, so no, not controlling for. The longer the distance, the more likely, and e-bikes are likely to go longer distances.
Have a crash, yeah. So
No,
you're going to crash more times than not.
Oh, per the distance. Yeah, we are controlling the distance. Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's all, really. So,
Man.
Yeah,
do you think this is due to anti-cyclist propaganda?
I want to know who sponsored this. It's like an e-scooter company sponsored it or something, the study. Who knows?
Yeah. I really do wonder whether they tracked whether they were on roads or on footpaths, because I would say most of the scooters I see are on footpaths, almost running me over. I mean, this is in Australia, a completely different country. And then all of the e-bikes are in the bike lane, which is
exactly.
obviously more
and
dangerous
different cities like
cars.
London, I don't think you're allowed to ride on the road with your e-scooter, are you? And all that sort of stuff. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I feel like that is a big thing to look at, a huge variable.
Exactly.
Is, are you on the footpath or are you on the road?
You know what one of my proudest moments of living in Brisbane ever was, Max?
Yeah.
Was when it's kind of died down, the hate for the e-scooters now. But when they first arrived in Brisbane, the people who did public executions off the bridges of the
not into the brown snake.
they were hanging from the bridges. That was the last time I felt like I feel like the Brisbane community really came together against the common cause.
As one.
Hit it! Hit it! Hurry up!
Yeah. You're tuning to 4ZZZ. The show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Aiden in the room. We've got Gabe, and we've got our friendly neighbourhood marine scientist without her sting yet. What's going on?
We're working on it. It's coming. Your complaints have been passed along to the composer, and they are being taken very seriously.
Okay, good to know.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
Something's missing in the Gulf of Panama.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's too hot in the Gulf of Panama. It's too hot everywhere, but it's very too hot in the Gulf of Panama. For the first time in recorded history, the Gulf's seasonal upwelling has failed. So what is upwelling? Upwelling is essentially just cold waters from deep in the ocean coming up. These deep waters are commonly very nutrient rich, which is why coasts with upwelling really punch above their weight when it comes to fish and biodiversity. So if you look around the world, it's usually on the western side of each ocean, but eastern side of each continent will have an upwelling area. It's actually like you can see it all around the world. It's because of the way that the world spins. Regardless, it happens all around the world, and lots of these coasts have upwelling, which is very important for bringing nutrients. So the Gulf of Panama is a place which has a seasonal upwelling, so it only happens at some points in time. Essentially, this one, it relies on the formation of the Panama low-level jet. Essentially what happens is there are these seasonal upwellings are usually caused by seasonal winds or currents. This one is a wind. So there are winds that blow off the coast of Panama, so basically towards Australia, and they pull the surface water away, and then something has to come and replace that. So it's from below, the deep waters come up and replace that. That is upwelling. And with them, they bring, colder temperatures, but also lots of nutrients. And loads of things rely on this. The nutrients basically build a food web because phytoplankton like nutrients, plankton like phytoplankton, fish like plankton, blah, 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 all the way up the scale. So you get a lot of things living in that area. And then because of that, a lot of people rely on it. So there's a lot of fishing communities that rely on this. Also in the Gulf of Panama, an interesting thing is that because this happens in their summer months, the corals there actually rely on the upwelling to make sure they don't bleach. So the upwelling cools the water temperature so that they're not having lots of hot temperatures. So they've got a lot of things going on in this area that rely on this upwelling. So upwelling, by the way, regions of upwelling cover less than 1% of the ocean's surface, but they supply more than around 10% of the global fisheries catch. So that that shows just how productive these areas are. So the way the Gulf of Panama works is it relies on something called the Panama low-level jet. So they have northerly trade winds, and the winds pull away the surface of the water. But those trade winds are so strong, it creates something called a jet, or a jet stream is the other way of describing it. And it's just a really, really strong wind. And it's quite low, low-level jet means like quite low down, so it catches the water. But this year, for the very first time in recorded history, the upwelling didn't occur. And so they wanted to know why, because it's a really big deal. So researchers from the Smithsonian, no QS ranking, confirmed that while the wind was as fast and produced similar levels of what they call wind stress to previous years, it was far less frequent, which essentially means that the system relaxed and didn't pull the water away, so that nothing came up to replace it. It's actually the first recorded failure in at least 40 years of satellite observations, but this has also been sort of like semi-recorded in, fisheries logs and things like that for a much, much, much longer time. We know this upwelling has been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years, because we can see it in the logs of people who have lived there over that time that rely on it. But yeah, essentially this did not happen because the winds weren't consistent enough is probably the right way to say it. They weren't consistent enough to form the jet. It didn't really happen. They were very strong, but they just weren't frequent. So they kind of just didn't do anything, and then the water stayed. So the researchers have warned that a collapse of upwelling in just 1 year can have a lot of cascading effects. Obviously, the nutrients don't come, so then there's less plankton, there's less fish biomass, there's food insecurity for fishes. The corals I mentioned are going through bleaching at the moment. That has actually happened within the year. So there's lots of things that this is very stressful for. And the worst part is that they actually think similar disruptions may already be happening in other upwelling systems. So the California current, the Humboldt current, and the Canary current are also having little issues. So the Gulf of Panama is actually considered a sentinel system, basically a warning system for this happening elsewhere. So if you live in an area that relies on upwelling, bad news, basically. And then the study also highlights how short-term variability, like El Nino, interacts with these long-term climate change trends, which essentially meaning that it's going to compound the risk. Yeah. So in previous times where, a climatic thing like El Nino may have boosted it, or I'm actually not sure if El Nino boosts it or decreases it, but in times where, before it would be like, oh, it's a variability, now it's like, okay, that little thing may push it over the edge and you just may not get it. So, yeah. Oh, also, before you ask, yes, this is climate change related. The climate is changing. Temperatures are changing. Winds rely on temperature and pressure. That's how they form. And so if temperatures are whack, you're not going to get consistent winds. That's essentially what's happening, is the system has changed, and so we're not getting the right... the system isn't working anymore. They don't know whether... They're not confident that it'll happen again next year. They don't know. It's all unprecedented and very up in the air. But what we do know is that this is a very clear outcome of climate change affecting these people's lives. Like, very, very clear.
If it happens again next year, we might have to put you on to the next show, Eco Radio.
Well, this is science, Max. This is science. Climate change is science. I cannot stress that enough. This shit is real.
The World Meteorological Organization released their State of the Global Climate Report for 2024. Want to know what beautiful little piece of information they found? 2024 was the first calendar year to be more than 1.5 degrees Celsius in global average temperatures above pre-industrial era, making it the warmest year in 175 years we have been recording the temperature of the world.
There you go.
How great is that?
Delightful.
Aren't humans fantastic?
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
Max,
Yes.
in the era of escapism, and I feel a little bit weird about linking climate change to what we're about to say, but you know what? Stuff it.
Yeah.
The best escapism that you could probably find at the moment is supporting real, un-algorithmed, un-AI'd
Community radio.
community radio.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if you want a warm inner glow to match the outer glow of the planet. Description.
That's right. And you can do that by going to our website at 4zzz.org.au/support. If you're under 18, it's $25. If you're a pet, like Ibo, $25. Concession, $40.
If you have bought a pet subscription, your fake dog, please text in.
Nah, for real, we will
know.
make you the
We
show
want to
mascot.
know.
I need to know.
A full is $80, passionate $140, and a super sub for $500. What do you think about that, Ibo?
What about a Tamagotchi? Like, what counts as a pet nowadays? We're not checking.
And Owen wrote in, he said that the price of a rover dog with bucket hips reflects that a boutique of boutique dogs that also come with bucket hips.
It comes pedigreed.
Pedigreed.
It is 4th gen after all. You're tuned into 4ZZZ. The show is No Idea with me, Max, Aiden, Gabe, and we've got Maximillian in the room, so it can only be
It's lights out and away we go.
F1. Job done.
Job done.
Yep. That's been MotoRap.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone on the text line would appreciate that short and sweet MotoRap.
That's right, the new form MotoRap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, that's from last week, for those that missed it.
Because it was so long ago.
Okay, it's time for the best part of the show. Loosely defined as science, yeah, you already know. Everybody listens to 4ZZZ just to hear us talking about what Butters just did. Subscriptions just keep rolling like the tires on a car. But something tells me that our science curves won't go far. But unlike an engine, I won't keep you in suspension. We're all here to hear him talk, so let's give him attention. You're not ready for when he starts rapping. Gonna hand the mic to Max, and I'm not talking Van Stappen.
Supercars happened on the weekend. It was the start of the Enduros, which sees driver pairings for each car as they compete on the longer distances. Race 26 it was at the Bend in South Australia, and the zinger headline from the race result was Kostecki repels Waters at the Bend. The race was won by Brody Kostecki and Todd Hazelworth. Second was Cam Waters, partnering with Mark Winterbottom. And third was Matthew Payne and Garth Tander. All drivers on the podiums were driving Fords. The next,
How is the parity at the moment?
well, they think Ford's got a weaker engine. I mean, it breaks easily, but Ford's going to win Bathurst, I reckon.
Okay.
Which is the next race, which is going to happen soon.
The big one. The mountain.
The 1000. NASCAR former supercar champion Shane Van Gisbergen has bowed out of the contention in the NASCAR playoffs. Shane already took honours for Rookie of the Year by winning 4 races. He will have another opportunity to add to his wins this year with the race at Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course, but unfortunately he cannot win this year's NASCAR championship. All in all, it's been a pretty successful year for the Trackhouse racing driver. So I'm looking forward to 2026. It should be hopefully the year to watch NASCAR, with SVG partnering up with teen sensation Connor Zillage. And we may even get to see Connor down under later this year if he gets the wildcard entry for supercars in Adelaide. MotoGP also happened on the weekend. It was the Italian MotoGP. And it was business as usual. Thanks, Pete. Now, Pete says, "G'day, legends. Is there a scientific reason why Australian adjacent," I like that terminology, SVG, is great at driving complicated tracks, but can't seem to manage driving around, and now I've lost it, in a circle for an hour or two.
Well, he's not American, for one.
Yeah, he wasn't brought up in that sort of environment.
Yeah. Do we have any, like, oval tracks here in Oz?
We used to. In Melbourne, there was one. But, they tried to bring a sort of NASCAR-type series to Australia. Bob Jane tried to introduce it.
Right.
It lasted for a little while, but, not so much now. We just have to go to the States.
Because we have taste.
Yeah. we like some right-handers to go with our left-handers.
Anyway, Pete, I'm talking about MotoGP. Order was restored. The older brother, Marc Marquez, riding his Ducati, he finished P1. Marco Bezzecchi, driving Aprilia, came in P2. And then younger brother, Alex Marquez, finished P3 on his Ducati. Okay, the all-important Aussie Jack Miller, where did he finish? He finished 12th, which means he is 17th in this year's championship. And Jack is pretty popular in Italy as a former Ducati rider. And on the cool-down lap, Miller did a bit of a no-no. He was travelling in the wrong direction on the back straight after seeing a sign from a fan offering a beer in exchange for a pair of race-worn gloves. In Jack's words, he said, "Highlight was giving a fan who promised me beer in exchange for my gloves post-race. I was fined €2,000, which is about $3.5 grand.
$2,000 for a beer.
And he didn't even get the beer, he said.
$2,000 for the opportunity of a beer.
Yeah,
no
sure.
one tells Suncorp because they're going to start operating on that model.
Next MotoGP race will be in Japan. It's a race weekend which could see Marc Marquez secure the crown for this year's championship with still 5 races to go. So it sort of throws a bit contrary to the old adage that MotoGP is more competitive than F1.
Wow, shots fired there.
No. Sail GP also happened on the weekend. Emirates GBR won the regatta held off Saint-Tropez in France. New Zealand Black Falls were second, and rounding out the podium was Los Galos, Team Spain. Team Germany was in fourth, with the Australian team, they call Bond's Flying Roos, were in fifth. This result means that I will not be playing the Australian national anthem today, clearly. And Team Australia slips to third position in the Sail GP Championship. F1 this weekend, it's in Baku, probably everyone's favourite track.
Definitely our favourite track.
It's definitely our favourite track because on the straight they get up to about 365 kilometres per hour, which is pretty fun. And the Pirelli tyres back in 2021 weren't behaving that well, and they were exploding. And Max Verstappen got his left rear blew out, and Stroll's tyre blew out. So obviously they're going to start on lower pressures before they go out.
Yeah, is this one of your favourite moments at Baku, do you think?
Yeah. Well, my favourite is Charles Leclerc trying to set a nice pole lap, and he just crashed into that church.
Yeah. It's a famous clip because it immediately gets on the radio and says he's stupid. It's a bit, yeah.
Gabe, you like your Baku?
Love my Baku, Max.
Yeah. I'm thinking a McLaren 1-2 finish.
Okay.
And if they do a 1-2 finish, I don't care what order, it will secure their second consecutive Constructors' crown with 7 more race weekends to go. So that's how dominant they have been this year.
Yeah. It's crazy. I reckon Red Bull might be in with a shout this weekend.
Okay. Not
which
Charles?
Would be... no, I don't know if the Ferraris are going to do well on a street circuit given their ride height issues where they can't really get it in the right operating window.
I reckon for Lewis, they should just drop the ride height down for him so the car behaves normally. And take the
disqualification. Yeah. But again, if we see a Red Bull back on the top step, it brings back memories of 2017. I think my favourite moment ever with the triple overtake from Ricciardo.
Yes, into turn one. Yeah,
gets both Williams and I think the Force India of Hulkenberg. Crazy move.
And it's good Max Verstappen doesn't have to worry about his teammate because he's so far behind, Yuki. So there won't be the same accident that happened with him and Ricciardo back in the day.
In 2018,
when Ricciardo ran up the back of Max Verstappen, who was weaving a bit. So you reckon that Bottas, he set the quickest time down the straight of 378 kilometres per hour. So that's almost 400 kilometres per hour. That's insane.
That's full quali trim in the 2016 Williams, which had the sort of overpowered Mercedes power unit.
Yeah,
and that thing, it was a rocket ship in a straight line. But no Formula One car has gone faster.
Yes. On
at a single moment.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more to add, Gabe? What do you got?
No, just that, like you said, Azerbaijan's this weekend. There's a Sail GP this weekend in Geneva.
Is there?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what I'm reading.
Oh, good.
20 to 22 September 2025.
Okay, back-to-back weekends of Sail GP.
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Then there's MotoGP following weekend, and like you said, Max, the next Supercars is Bathurst, which is in a couple of weeks' time, October.
Yeah. Maxie, any more to add?
I think that's it.
Aiden, anything?
I didn't know there was a Sail GP. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the catamarans.
That's awesome.
50-foot catamarans, yeah. It's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, you tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea, your weekly dose of science with me, Max. We got Gabe. We got Peta. We got Aiden. Let me know something, Gabe, about...
Wow.
You know something.
Fantastic.
Max, we've been talking over the last few weeks a bit about this under 16s ban on social media and phone bans generally. Last week we talked about the some research out of South Australia on the impacts of removing phones from state schools, primary schools and high schools.
Yes.
And there's now in the last week been an update from the Australian government on what the regulatory guidance will be about this ban on social media for under 16s. There's been lots of conversations about how it could look, lots of comparisons with other countries like the UK about how things are going elsewhere and what is and isn't working. So very briefly, the guidance, it kind of probably rules out government ID being used for these bans, which is what a lot of people had been worried about, is that you'd basically have to provide Facebook and TikTok and everyone else with the government ID, like a passport or something as a kid, or birth certificate, whatever it might have been, to prove age. So that's pretty much been ruled out. I don't think it bans them from doing it. It does. The guidance does ban it from being the sole method, and it also there's not the wording in there in this regulatory guidance that's come out that would suggest that that's what has to be done. They use the phrase reasonable steps must be taken and then outline that. So the social media companies do need to put forward something, and I think there will be age verification being added.
A quiz on what happened in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be a variety of things. Like, I'm assuming there'll be a lot more of these things where you have to say, yes, I'm definitely this, this age. This is definitely my date of birth. I signed this as a legal thing, or tick this box as a legal thing. There's probably going to be, depending on the platforms, other stuff going on. Like they might try and use facial recognition to sort of prompt this user could be under 16, so we need to give them more age verification steps, whatever that looks like. Yeah. It's still up in the air. December 10 is the date that we're working towards here. It might start coming into effect across the different platforms before then, but that's the latest. Is that it's not going to be the most sort of extreme version of it, where it would be government ID or something along those lines. It looks like it will be. The onus will be on the social media companies to take what they call reasonable steps, which they give some guidance on, to show that their users aren't under 16. There's fines in place. I think it's 40-something million as a maximum, as a max fine for this. They have to give people forewarning that their account would be closed for this reason, so people can't just lose their data because they see one photo and you look under 16, accounts immediately deactivated. Goodbye, all of your photos. They have to give people reasonable steps to defend themselves, or at least know that it's happening. So there's some safety rails being put in place in these guidelines, and it looks like it's now sort of going to start coming into effect over the next few months. But Max, that will leave a lot of people under 16 with the need for entertainment.
Yes.
And wow, isn't community radio ready to step up?
That's right. And if you want to text in, you can text in and we'll see your name if you subscribe to this wonderful station at 4ZZZ.org.au/support under 18. $25. Aiden, you a subscriber?
I am a subscriber. My dad signed me up.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Is your pet subscribed? Have you got a pet?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if my dog is subscribed or not, though.
$25.
It's okay.
Oh, wow.
Our snake isn't subscribed, so that's on us.
Concessions, $40. A full subscription is $80. Oh, I got a subscriber.
Oh, what timing. Play it, Max. Get on it.
It was Kevin
What are you doing?
Kevin from Regent's Park. Well done. Okay.
We will get the harp seal for you. Do not worry, it is coming.
I don't know where it is now.
Oh,
where do
goodness.
I keep it?
Speaking of community radio.
Here we go. Nice.
There you
Perfect.
go.
There you go.
If you're
That's for you.
passionate,
That's something that we offer on this show. That maybe other shows don't.
Exclusive.
So, 4ZZZ as a whole, wonderful thing to subscribe to.
Yeah.
Plenty of great shows with wonderful, entertaining, the things to listen to that'll brighten up your day. But this show is the only show that guarantees you that every time someone subscribes, we will play the sound of a baby harp seal distressed at losing its mother. And that's a no idea promise.
Passionate subscriber, $140. Super sub, $500. Check it out. Go to the website. All the tiers are there. Enjoy. And there will be a prize for the month.
Yeah, monthly sub prize that gets drawn.
Yeah.
September prize is from Sea Legs Brewing Co.
Yes.
So yeah, if you subscribe during the month
Maybe not
of
the under 16s.
September, yeah, so that one's
Maybe not you guys. You guys probably don't do that one. But everyone else, yeah.
Yes. You go into the running to win those monthly prizes. So yeah. Thank you to everyone who does subscribe to 4ZZZ. It does legitimately keep us on air. And if you haven't yet, or if it's lapsed, log on 4ZZZ.org.au. Check it out. There's a lot of different options there to subscribe and keep us running. Keep some algorithm-free, age verification-free content coming your way. Tariff-free, all of that stuff.
Tariff-free, yeah.
What do the next 50 years of 4ZZZ sound like? We have no idea.
Yeah. You tune into 4ZZZ. And the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Aiden, we've got Peta, we've got Gabe. No Idea, Space News. Here it is, Space News. I meant to have this playing. There we go.
Hell yeah.
And we're playing this because it might be out there. They may have found...
Are we not playing it because it's likely out there?
The Perseverance rover. It's travelling through the river valley of the Mars Jezero crater. And back in July 2024, it drilled into the surface and extracted a sample from a unique striped rock called Scțiönç Falls, they're calling it. The rover's instruments then analysed the sample, which is called Sapphire Canyon, and surveyed the surrounding rock. When scientists started looking into the data, they found two types of iron-rich minerals arranged on the rock in a distinctive spotted pattern. Both these minerals are associated with life on Earth. One is found around decomposing organic matter on Earth, while the other is produced by certain microbes.
Yeah, this is the thing. In geology, I would just say, like, generally, if you find rocks that have, like, individual rocks that have, like, some interesting stratigraphy, is what you'd call it, like striping or colouring. A lot of the times that's because of organic matter changing the colour of the deposition, like the deposed rock. So, yeah, that's not surprising that would be caused by something organic. It's really interesting to see. So, like, we have some really interesting rocks in Western Australia that are actually life. They're living. They're like a big this microbial community. It's very important. One of the oldest, or the oldest life on Earth, I think. Very cool. So, yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
Okay. Gabe, anything to add? Sorry.
Well, yeah, so the sample was taken in July last year by Perseverance. We love Perseverance on this show.
We do,
It keeps persevering.
It's an incredible rover. It was backed up by Ingenuity, the little drone helicopter, for a long time. Before that, succumbed at long last to a fault. But yeah, the Perseverance rover has been going for a while, and it's been doing this thing that we've teased a lot, Max, on this show.
Yeah.
Where it's going down, taking samples, putting it in a tube, and dropping the tube on the ground.
Behind it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Behind
we love
to be
this.
picked up at some later date.
Be picked up later at a time to be disclosed at a later
Don't worry, guys.
date.
I put it in a jar.
Now, and I'm fairly sure as well that rescue mission is a joint effort from NASA and the European Space Agency, and I'm pretty sure the European Space Agency is just, going through the list, checking off exercise after exercise, building little bits, and the NASA part is getting budget cut. So who knows when this stuff is going to come back to Earth? There is a sample of it now. The current research just being done with the photos that Perseverance has taken. There's a sample of it sitting in a tube that's supposed to come back to Earth at some point, I think in the 2030s.
Yeah, because they need to get their hands on it so they can really verify for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the reason this is such a big news story now is that they've done stuff on this before, and they said all sorts of things that this could be. One of them is a biosignature, it's called, of life. So like the remnants of life. Biosignature includes fossils.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's still there. That's very important.
It is a signature of signature of life. And so what this latest research that's just come out has done is basically gone through all of the potential things this could be caused by and said none of the non-life ones stack up.
Yeah.
The best explanation currently is life. We cannot rule out chemical interactions though, because you can get, there's 2 iron-based compounds that I believe are materials rather that are there in this spotted pattern on the rocks. You can get it from chemical reactions in certain situations. The latest research kind of implies that those situations are pretty unlikely in the context of what the environment on Mars is and has been. And so there's a good shot that this is caused by life, which means this rock could be like the rock that this photograph is showing could end up being like the most important photo in modern science of like the first evidence of life on another planet, and then it would open up this whole discussion of, well, maybe it was life populated from Earth, or perhaps Earth was life populated from Mars. But suddenly our sample of life on planets would become confirmed life on other planets would become 2, not 1, which is pretty extraordinary for considering the prevalence of life in the universe. We're not quite there yet, but this is very close. It's caused a huge stir in the scientific community, and a lot of people very seriously considering that this could be the first evidence of life on another planet, which is pretty amazing. So go look at this photo, commit it to memory, because hopefully at some point we get at least some more detail from Perseverance of this or something similar to it, and then ideally in a future that I hope is not too far away, those samples of the same sort of thing come back to Earth and can get analyzed properly by a human in a lab and actually get into all of this and try and confirm it.
In a very controlled lab, just in case.
Oh, it might get out, you reckon?
I've seen that Doctor Who episode where they get in the water. It's real creepy.
To be clear, even if this was live,
it's
very,
dead now.
very dead right now.
It's pretty dead. It's pretty rock right now, to be fair. But just in case.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, that is all we have time for. The show this week was brought to you by, well, let's say the word biosignature and everyone who subscribes to 4ZZZ and keeps us on air. We'll be back in your ears same time next week. Between now and then, give your mitochondria a rest. Don't wait up for those Perseverance samples to get down to Earth anytime soon. And rest easy knowing that science supports you binging Bluey episodes with the kids. You can listen back to all those stories and our other shows on the 4ZZZ.org.au website. And our podcast to search up No Idea 4ZZZ. That's no with a K.
Highest rated podcast.
Still a flat 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah.
How good's that?
And we'll speak to you next week.
Later.
I'm a goddamn marvel of modern science.